for listening to me. Muito obrigado. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Excellency Minister. Next, we will have remarks by His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salim Merzu, Minister for Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and Mauritanians Abroad for Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and the Chair for Executive Council. Excellency Chair, thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين صاحبة الفخامة سيدة جيسيكا أولوبو نائبة رئيس جمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة من جديد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين صاحبة الفخامة السيدة جيسيكا أولوبو نائبة رئيس جمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة صاحب المعالي سيد جيري أودونغو وزير الشؤون الخارجية لجمهورية أوغندا الشقيقة أصحاب المعالي وزراء
of Uganda, Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Excellencies, Ministers of Agriculture of the Member States, Excellencies, Excellency Dr. Monique, Excellence Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Husbandry in the Republic of Uganda, and Excellencies of the STC, Specialized Technical Committee on Water Environment, Excellencies, Madame Josepha Sako, Commissioner for Agriculture, Blue Economy and Sustainable Development at the African Union, Excellencies, Permanent Representatives, and members of the PRC of the African Union. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure for me to start my statement by conveying to you best wishes for the new year, hoping this year will be a year of happiness for everybody, and that this year will enable us all to prosper and will enable the whole of our continent to prosper. I'd wish to convey to you greetings from the head of state, Mauritania, the chair of the African Union, chairperson of the African Union, who is greeting all on the basis of his desire to strengthen food security. I would also wish to thank, on behalf of all of you, the government and the people of Uganda for the warm welcome and the hospitality that were accorded us since our arrival in this beautiful country. I would also wish to underscore the good organization of this meeting and all the facilitation that has been made to enable us to attain our objectives. Excellencies, this summit has been held in a very sensitive international context, characterized by conflict, aggravated conflict, without precedent, which actually requires radical change in our priorities. This has also had an impact on our capacity to interact with different international agencies. At international level, I've got polarization, and therefore we have got new challenges at political and economic levels, not forgetting climatic change. All this has had negative impacts on our work. The African Union, during this year, has had exceptional performance because the African Union made more visible its presence at the international scene, and was able to mobilize substantive amounts of funds to strengthen its position at international level. The African Union has continued to make more efforts to enable us to attain agricultural development which is sustainable and resilient in the African continent, based on the important decision of Banabo. As regards the Caadp program and the declaration, all these are based on the challenges we meet in trying to have sustainable agriculture in Africa. These efforts are reflected clearly in the 2023 agenda of the African Union, which underscored in its first ambition the need of strengthening the agricultural sector in order to improve its productivity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the UN reports indicate that more than 1 billion Africans are unable to sustain the funds for a healthy food regime, and the costs of imported food products. The population of the continent should be able to feed more than 2 billion people in the year 2050. The report of the fourth consideration of Caadp, which we discussed last February, showed a reality, a concerning reality. It was shown that of the 49 countries which presented their reports during this session, none of the countries is on the right track as regards attaining the Caadp engagements of Malabo in Africa. The commitment of our leaders is that, depending on others to accord food to our populations, we not eliminate hunger, and that will only increase African political vulnerability, and will make African populations more dependent on products, food products, international food products, and this leads to health hazards, as we have seen when we had the COVID-19 pandemic and the Ukrainian conflict. So we need collective efforts in order to foster a sustainable agricultural growth, in order to improve food security, using a comprehensive approach which emphasizes the pillars which were mentioned by ministers of agriculture of the member states. All this can be summarized in 4 points. First of all, put should put in place precise programs and strengthen bilateral and regional cooperation. We also take advantage of the improved technology in place today and support farmers directly. We should also develop agricultural infrastructures and strengthen specialization of agricultural production. And seventh, we should take advantage of the AFCFTA. Excellencies, the President of Mauritania, who is also chairperson of the African Union, is convinced of the importance of food security and has already called upon all of us here to make concerted efforts so that we may eliminate and eradicate hunger and bring compensation to African states and face efficiently the effects and impacts of climatic change. And our country has mobilized a fund of $100 billion after the summit of 2021 in Nairobi, Kenya, in last April. Those funds are meant for executing development projects at continental level. Mr. Chair, the continent has put in place concrete measures in line with its aspirations to improve food security in Africa by giving absolute priority to development of infrastructure in agricultural zones, agricultural areas, and make available agricultural tools, fertilizers, so that we may be able to build roads and dams and energy networks in line with other continental efforts based on the principle that we are supposed to resolve all the challenges facing our country in order to attain sustainable development, regardless of what the problems we are facing in the continent. This is not, it's not impossible to surmount these barriers and challenges, but all that we need are concerted efforts as well as consensual work so that we will be able to attain the aspirations of our populations, for example, eradicating hunger and strengthen food security and sovereignty. In conclusion, I wish to thank Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, for all her efforts, as well as Madame Haile Mariam, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, and President, Chair of Caadp before Malabo. Thank you very much for your attention. And here we open our meeting officially. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Excellency Chairperson for the Executive Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I humbly would like to ask His Excellency Jessica Alupo, Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, to give us her address. Excellency, you have the podium.
Your Excellency Monique, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Haile Mariam, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Excellency Dr. Mohamed Salem, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation, and Mauritanians abroad from the Islamic Republic of Mauritania, and Chair of the Executive Council, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, and indeed all Ministers of Agriculture here present, Your Excellency, Dr. Gideon Timon, Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and indeed all ministers of foreign affairs present. Your Excellency, Ambassador Josepha Sako, the African Union Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development and Blue Economies, representatives of the African Union institutions, representatives of the regional economic communities, development partners present, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and I would like to welcome all of you to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to first of all thank you for inviting me to take part in this very important meeting. I wish also to thank the African Union Commission for honoring Uganda with the privilege of hosting this extraordinary summit on Caadp here in this beautiful city of Kampala. I find this meeting crucial because it is focusing on the development sector that we all identify with, i.e. agriculture. Here in Uganda, wealth and jobs are in the four sectors of commercial agriculture, industry and manufacturing, services and ICT. And I'm sure it is the case in many of the countries that we come from. Therefore, generally speaking, agriculture is the backbone of most, if not all, economies on the African continent, providing first-line employment to our people at various levels of the agricultural value chain, feeding into our nascent industrial sector and contributing significantly to our domestic economies. However, you are also aware that the sector remains largely underdeveloped on the account of a number of factors which our heads of state and government sought to address through the previous Caadp frameworks. I believe we are all gathered here again today because we recognize the need to continuously evolve strategies to address the bottlenecks to the agricultural sector as well as the other dependent sectors. Allow me to briefly highlight some of these bottlenecks. Firstly, low public sector investment by member countries in the development of the agricultural sector. Second, limited adoption of use of new agricultural mechanization technologies. In addition, over-reliance on nature amidst climate change conditions. Scarcity and high costs of quality agricultural inputs like fertilizers, seed, and breeding stock. Limited involvement of the youth and underutilization of land. Inadequate supportive infrastructure like energy, roads, skilled labor, markets, cold chain facilities, etc. And limited intra-Africa trade in agricultural products and slow pace of value addition or agro-processing. I am sure you all acknowledge these bottlenecks, and as we convene here, I hope this and more have been contained in your agenda. I am also hopeful that the resultant Kampala Caadp Declaration will tackle these issues holistically. Finally, I wish to also note that agriculture should not be looked at in isolation because complementarity is key. Without energy, for instance, value addition will be affected, and without appropriate transport infrastructure, market access will be limited, etc. I therefore hope that you discuss this new Caadp strategy and action plan 2026-2035. You will consider following a value chain-based approach. As I conclude, I would like to challenge all of you to look into addressing the persistent import bill for food on the continent, reported to be about $100 billion. It is something that sends a very negative image on our continent. We still have capacity to produce, even with limited adoption of catalysts like irrigation, fertilizers, etc., because we still have underutilized land and our weather patterns are relatively good. Let us therefore, through this framework, aim to reverse this undesirable scenario. I once again welcome you to Uganda and further call upon you all to ensure that the resolutions of this meeting are implemented to the latter. I am informed that the fourth biannual review of the Malabo Caadp indicated some deficiencies in the realization of the targets, mainly on the account of implementation. I wish you all fruitful deliberations, and I invite you to take out some time to enjoy Uganda on the sidelines after the summit. It is now my singular honor and privilege to declare this joint meeting of Ministers of Agriculture and Ministers of Foreign Affairs officially open, and I thank you all for your kind attention.